You're listening to Tim Bulkeley's 5-Minute Bible. E100 Reading 4. Genesis 8:1 to 9:17. Sin and Grace. Because this is the story of grace after the flood. So, during this reading, we reach the period after the flood. Sin, of course, hasn't gone. Selective breeding is no cure for the problem of sin. Take even the best man. Nor, of course, is drastic punishment. Parents learn that soon enough. There's no point in escalating the punishment to try to diminish the crime. Notes draw an interesting attention to Noah's first response to being released from the ark. He offers sacrifice. I was really fascinated during the week to listen to a podcast which gave some selected extracts from an atheist convention held recently in Australia. Two things fascinated me. One is relevant to this podcast. The first was just the way in which all these erudite atheists found it so hard to explain away the heights and depths of human experience. The ordinary everyday is easy enough, but the things that really make us human, they seem not to have a handle on at all. Weird. The one that's relevant to this podcast was Thanksgiving as a prominent theme. It amused me that they seem obliged to explain it away as an epiphenomenon of evolution. I think Thanksgiving is much more basically human and much more important than they do. The urge to give thanks is natural to us and basic, but too often we forget it. Noah didn't hear. He remembered and offered sacrifice. But in our notes, they also draw attention, interestingly, to God's response. In 8:21, when the Lord smelled the pleasing odour, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of humankind, for the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth. Nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done. It's easy to miss it, but notice here that as well as promising not to destroy, as well as promising never again to curse, God does so in the full recognition that the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth. This isn't a conditional promise. This is one of the many examples in the Bible of God's perpetual, permanent attitude of grace, undeserved gift. The promise comes in and with a recognition of humanity's broken state, totally broken state. The inclination of the human heart is evil from youth. I think our Cunninghams right, like several of the fathers, to see the rainbow in this story as a prolepsis, a sign in advance of Jesus, as a sign of God's love regardless, as a sign that God will not let go, will not allow us to hand ourselves over to ourselves. This wasn't, of course, the first example of grace in the Bible. You find grace through these early chapters every time that you find sin. Isn't that a bit like life? God bless.